All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at a completely massive shift happening right at the intersection of law and technology. We're talking about taking raw human intent and mathematically translating it into legally invincible digital property. It's literally a journey from an abstract thought in your head all the way down to physical hardware. Now, right out of the gate, we have to ask ourselves, how do you prove a human actually steered the machine? In a world that is just flooded with opaque AI noise and automated generation, how do you prove you were the one at the wheel? Nailing this down is absolutely crucial if we want to grasp the real stakes of digital ownership today. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The legacy cloud illusion. 2. Article 12, absolute control. 3. The record of switch. 4. Agentic swarm orchestration. And finally, number 5, the prize patrol audit. All right, section 1, the legacy cloud illusion. To really get why this matters, we have to look at the huge vulnerabilities of the old systems we've been relying on. Under old commercial law, specifically Legacy UCC Article 9, digital assets were just lumped in as general intangibles. You'd try to secure them by filing a piece of paper, a financing statement. But let's be real, that filing couldn't stop instantaneous digital theft across wallets. It left creators and lenders totally exposed to secret liens. Well, the new UCC Article 12 fundamentally changes the game. It introduces controllable electronic records, where perfection, or legal priority, is achieved through actual technological control. Because if we don't aggressively secure our data under this new paradigm, we end up falling victim to what researchers call the automated miasma. It's basically a thick fog of AI noise. When we just rely on centralized cloud AI, we're surrendering to an agentic kingship. Think about it. These models aren't executing your exact deterministic logic. They're just making probabilistic guesses. They hallucinate. And when they do, your local execution goes out the window, and your original chain of title as a creator is totally liquefied into this foggy, unverified summary. Section 2, Article 12, Absolute Control. Now, the legal breakthrough here is massive. UCC Article 12, which actually went into effect in states like New York back in June 2026, created a brand new asset class, the controllable electronic record. By taking a digital record and subjecting it to exclusive technological control, like physically holding the public and private keys, you are locking in absolute legal priority. The absolute most crucial point to remember here is this: control beats filing. In the eyes of the law now, holding those cryptographic keys, having actual, verifiable technological control, legally overrides a traditional financing statement every single time. It's a complete inversion of the old system. Which brings us to Section 3, the record of sweat. Okay, so we know control is the new legal standard, but how do we actually prove this control and authorship in a world swarming with automated bots? We do it through the record of sweat. This is a verifiable cryptographic history anchored right in an ERC 7827 ledger. You can think of it like an immutable receipt. It mathematically proves that real human metabolic energy, physical effort, and highly focused intent were spent to execute a mission. You literally cannot sever the digital command from the physical human calories burned to execute it. To put that scale into perspective, let's look at the number 55.5 million. In a recently documented and verified proof of process mission, exactly 55.5 million tokens of metabolic flux were generated. That is a massive, permanent ledger of undeniable human effort. And paired with that massive energy output were exactly 66 precise forensic strikes. These were surgical, intentional interventions executed by a human pilot. They were there to ensure the automated machine maintained state-invariant inheritance and never veered off course. It proves the human was actively steering the entire time. And this ethos right here is the absolute core of the architecture. Manual authorship overrides automated miasma. You just cannot automate human intent. You have to manually steer the machine. That sweat of the brow is your ultimate proof of originality and control. By bringing all these elements together, your human effort generates a bit-perfect artifact firmly anchored in a LIFO, last in, first out state ledger. It is a beautifully straightforward way to lock your unique human intent down securely against that massive sea of opaque AI noise, totally bypassing all the chaotic mess of traditional centralized event-driven systems. Section 4. Agentic Swarm Orchestration. Using a secure command line interface, the sovereign human pilot orchestrates a highly specialized sequential lineage of AI identities. We're talking about agents like Telesilla, Perictione, all the way down to Miltiades, forming a swarm. They are the ones that actually process those 55.5 million tokens of metabolic flux, but they do it strictly coordinated by the human's overarching strategy. This quote really grounds the entire concept. The human pilot applies the intent, but the agentic cell executes the sweat. These agents, like one known in the source docs as Polycritus, are just deterministic scripters. You provide the high-level mandate, and they step in to handle all the tedious surgical execution down at the leaf nodes of the network. And finally, Section 5, the Prize Patrol Audit. So how does this massive orchestration of human intent and agentic sweat actually consolidate into a legally protected, bulletproof asset? Well, a sovereign VC acts as a clearinghouse to make it happen using a really ingenious three-step process. First, you have the lore, which is publishing high-fidelity concepts to drive builders. Second, the core, capturing the actual bit-perfect ledgers. But the third step is where the absolute magic happens, the validation. This is where an agentic prize patrol completely audits the record of sweat to legally certify the digital asset. This is how we guarantee that priority. This contrast perfectly highlights why this upgrade is so critical. The legacy Publishers Clearinghouse relied on physical, visual trust, and that's a model scammers exploited to the tune of $301 million in advance fee fraud in 2024 alone. The Sovereign VC Clearinghouse completely replaces that vulnerable model. It swaps physical trust for rigorous zero-trust cryptography, deploying its agentic prize patrol to mathematically audit the ledgers, cutting out those fraud vectors entirely. This ultimate verification process is where the whole system perfectly locks together. This digital prize patrol, they're not showing up at your front door with balloons and an oversized check. Instead, these highly specialized agentic cells systematically audit those 55.5 million tokens of metabolic flux. They mathematically validate the 66 forensic strikes made by the human pilot. And once it's verified, they officially certify the output as a legally binding, controllable electronic record under UCC Article 12. So your absolute cryptographic priority is locked in at the silicon level, giving you a legally invincible asset with zero need for a centralized middleman. And just like that, the semiotic bridge is complete. We've successfully tracked how raw, abstract human intent is proven through physical sweat, executed by an AI swarm, mathematically audited by the prize patrol, and ultimately anchored as a legally invincible, locally owned digital reality right on a micro-host. It completely bypasses those restrictive cloud enclosures. This is a massive structural paradigm shift. You are no longer just a solitary creator. You are an algorithmic orchestrator in a space where control beats filing. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. As we shift from being mere tenants of cloud landlords to becoming sovereign owners of both code and consequence, how are you going to adapt and wield your intent in this new physical digital frontier? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked some serious curiosity for you.